Leverage is a sword that cuts both ways. It can multiply your wealth or liquidate your existence. Leverage, the use of borrowed money to amplify returns, is the ultimate temptation in trading. For the amateur, it represents a shortcut to riches, but inevitably leads to ruin because they treat it as free money. Livermore lost his fortune multiple times precisely due to the undisciplined use of leverage. He realized that the problem is not the tool, it is the psychology and position sizing behind it. Trading with margin turns every small mistake into a catastrophic failure and every minor fluctuation into panic. The secret to using leverage safely is to treat the borrowed money not as a booster, but as a controlled risk factor integrated into an unbreakable system. Today we learn how to master this dangerous yet powerful force. The first step to safety is understanding the true mathematical risk of amplified loss. Before you enter a leveraged trade, you must know the exact price where the market will force you out. The foundation of safe leverage is understanding the liquidation point. This is the price level at which the margin provider will automatically close your position to cover their loan, resulting in a total loss of your collateral. Amateurs often ignore this calculation and are stunned when the market ruthlessly forces a sale. The disciplined speculator calculates this liquidation point before entry and ensures that his Sentinel Stop-Loss is placed significantly above that point. You must always exit the trade on your own terms with a small defined loss, never on the broker's terms via liquidation. This simple calculation transforms margin trading from gambling into a precise operation. Have you ever been liquidated or had a close call? Comment yes or no. The core of Livermore's safety system is the brutal honesty of the 10% rule applied to margin. Never risk more than 10% of your total account value on a single idea, regardless of the leverage used. Livermore's foundational rule for capital preservation remains paramount even with leverage. You must never expose more than 10% of your total trading capital to the risk of loss on any single trade idea when using 2-to-1 leverage. For example, if you have $100,000 in capital, you might use $200,000 in position size, but the actual capital you risk losing should still be limited to $10,000 maximum. Leverage amplifies the size of the position, not the size of the initial acceptable risk. By anchoring the risk to your unleveraged capital base, you prevent a single leverage loss from destroying your entire portfolio. The key to scaling risk is using the test entry to confirm validity before deploying full leveraged capital. Never test the waters with your full margin allocation. Start small and let the market confirm your safety. Livermore's test entry protocol is even more critical when using leverage. The test entry should use only a small fraction of your calculated safe margin, perhaps 25% of the total allowable leverage position size. This serves two purposes. First, it is a low-risk confirmation of the pivotal point entry. Second, it allows you to observe the margin requirements and the volatility of the stock without exposing a large chunk of capital to immediate liquidation risk. Only after the test entry confirms the move and you have successfully moved the stop-loss into a break-even position can you consider scaling up with additional leverage. The calculation of position size must prioritize the stop-loss distance over the available margin. The amount of money you have available to borrow is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is the distance to your exit. When using leverage, your position sizing calculation must prioritize the Sentinel Stop-Loss distance over the available margin. The formula is simple: risk capital divided by stop distance equals position size. For example, if your maximum risk capital is $5,000, 5% of your total capital and the distance from the entry to the stop is $2, your maximum position size is 2,500 shares. You then use the minimum required margin to fund this exact share amount you let the stop-loss dictate. The size of the trade, not the broker's willingness to lend you money. This prevents over-leveraging based on greed. Do you calculate your position size based on stop-loss distance, or do you just buy a round number of shares? Comment your method. The greatest failure in leveraged trading is the emotional urge to fund a failing trade. If the trade starts to fail, you liquidate. Do not fund the margin call. Do not throw good money after bad. The single biggest rule to avoiding liquidation is the no funding mandate. If a leveraged position moves against you and you receive a margin call, an urgent request for more collateral, the disciplined response is to liquidate the position immediately and accept the loss. The amateur's response is to panic and fund the margin call, throwing more good capital into a proven mistake in the hope of saving the trade. Funding a margin call is the final act of desperation, driven by emotion, and is a guaranteed path to catastrophic ruin. Livermore's system demands ruthless mechanical execution of the Sentinel Stop before the margin call ever happens. The best defense against liquidation is only using margin in the strongest confirmed market cycles. Leverage should only be used when the market cycle confirms the line of least resistance is clear and defined. Leverage must be aligned with the market cycles. Livermore only deployed significant margin during confirmed bull market accumulation phases or clear bear market distribution phases for shorting. He strictly avoided high leverage during choppy sideways markets or phases of high uncertainty. Why? Because volatile sideways action increases the risk of being stopped out or hitting the liquidation point by mere market noise. Leverage is a tool for amplifying a confirmed trend, not for gambling on uncertainty. Use the big picture cycle analysis to determine if the environment is safe for margin. The scaling up principle changes slightly when using leverage to protect profits. As your profits run, you scale up your position size, but your leveraged risk exposure should simultaneously decrease. When scaling up a winning leverage trade, the focus shifts to reducing risk exposure. As the stock price advances and your paper profit increases, you can use that profit to reduce the broker's loan component by moving the trailing stop upwards. You lock in profit. The key is to ensure that your position is eventually backed mostly by unleveraged profit, not borrowed capital. Livermore aimed to get the position into a state where the market would have to fall significantly before the broker's loan capital was at risk. This is how you turn leverage into a safe profit booster rather than a liquidation risk. What is your personal maximum leverage ratio? 2:1, 4:1 or higher. Comment your comfort level. This system requires a ruthless commitment to capital separation and zero dependency. Your trading account capital must be treated as separate and sacrosanct. Never borrow money from outside to meet margin calls. The final mandate for safe leverage is the external capital mandate. Your trading capital must be completely separate from your personal finances. Never borrow money from friends, family, or use personal savings to meet a margin call or fund a failing trade. Livermore's biggest financial errors came from confusing his speculative capital with his personal capital. The psychological safety of using leverage relies on the strict rule: what is in the trading account is the maximum risk. Once that capital is gone, the system is paused and reassessed. This separation prevents speculation from destroying your entire life. We conclude by linking the meticulous size and safety rules to the ultimate goal: wealth preservation. Leverage is the controlled fire of speculation. Use it precisely and it generates immense heat. Ignore the risk and it burns down the house. We have mastered the safe use of leverage. The secret is not complexity but discipline and math. You now know how to calculate the liquidation point. Place the stop loss above it and let the stop dictate the position size. You understand the no funding mandate and the necessity of aligning margin with the market cycle. Livermore's Success was built on turning leverage from a high-risk tool into a precise force multiplier, used only when the evidence was undeniable. Control your position size. Control your emotions and you control the leverage. Trade with mathematical precision and controlled risk. May your leverage multiply your wealth, not your losses. Go forth and trade systematically.